Hello, hello, hello. This is Misty Magdalena Grace with the new and improved version of Healthy and Wealthy and Wise, where we talk about spirituality, psychedelics, plant medicine, microdosing, and really that journey within to finding your best innate wisdom, to your best health, your best wealth through all sorts of inner child healing, trauma release, grief recovery, overcoming addictions, and working with the mind, the body, and spirit. So go ahead, leave a review, subscribe, download. We look forward to your feedback. Thanks for tuning in today. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome. It's so exciting here at Healthy and Wealthy and Wise today. We have a first time ever interview about dream interpretation. We're going to get going here in just a few moments. And if you're new to my show, I'm Magdalena Grace, and I am all about helping equip, inspire, and educate you with different experts, as well as my own story and my own channeling about how to manifest your best health and wealth in this current time, in this age of Aquarius, this new earth, golden age, whatever you want to call it. We're all going through it right now together. And it's just so important to have tools and awarenesses of what's possible to help you bring into the conscious mind what's coming through the unconscious mind. So before we start with the guest, I just want to remind you, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you see value in this show today, sharing is caring. I always say that. If you know someone could benefit from this topic, please share this with someone that you know, especially if they're going through any kind of health or financial issues or struggling with trusting their intuition. I feel like today's guest is really going to help shed some light and help a lot of people. And if you also want to subscribe to my newsletter at healthyandwealthyandwise.com, you can find that information there. All right, we already have a guest. Whoop, whoop. And this is just a great also reminder, if you're tuning in live and you want to comment, I don't always have the ability to recognize everyone, but I just want to give a shout out to Michael for tuning in. You can always comment below #live or #replay where you're tuning in from, city, state, and country. So without further ado, DeeDee, I'm so excited. We've rescheduled a few times for both of our lives schedule. So I guess the universe wanted us to talk today for whatever reason. I love it. I'm going to go ahead and introduce you. So I met DeeDee through my networking here in San Diego. She's a dream interpreter specialist. And fun facts about her: she was a makeup artist and was in a movie called The Elephant in the Room. So she's all about life experiences and also interpreting your life through the dream state. And so DeeDee, take it away. Tell us how you got to be where you are today. Oh shoot, hold on one second. I apologize. Take that, okay. Say that again.
I said it's a really long journey, but as far as like the dreams go, I've always been somebody who remembered her dreams, and I would talk about dreams, kind of like the paranormal. I love good ghost stories. I also love to hear people's dreams. It's like both. It's just like, I think the fantasy in both is really exciting and it's fun and there's no limitations to it. So I love them both. But with the dreams, I was delivering newspapers years ago for a company out here. And there was another company and they were delivering too. And there was a guy who was a dream interpreter, not as a profession, but he loved doing it. And he kept talking to me about my dreams. And at first I thought he was kind of like weirdly wanted to get into my dreams. But then I started talking to him about it because I saw how much he was into it. And I was also, but never had anybody who really wanted to talk about it. Like a lot of times people would say, oh, that's a weird dream, or kind of push you back, because they didn't like it. And so he was somebody who was really open to it. And he actually taught me, not only could I figure out my own dreams, but I was able to figure out his. And that's kind of where I think that was birthed. And then also growing up as a Christian, it was in the Bible. And there was a lot of stories in the Bible about dream interpreters. And so there was another place that I got into it. Then when I got involved in the paranormal and divination and other things like that, it comes up again. So it's there because we all dream. Mm-hmm. And it's universal. So it's something that, everyone's interested in if they take the time.
I love it. I love it. You just sparked a question, but I'm going to save that question for a minute. Cool. So how many years have you been doing this? And is there any really cool stories or lives that have been impacted by your helping them with dream interpretation? And then we'll get into the why.
Well, I've been doing it professionally since 2022. That's when I started doing it for others and having a website and doing podcasts about it and really trying to kind of share what I know. I'm still learning too. So as I go along, I share whatever I learn to kind of put it out there, because I feel like when you learn something, it's good to share it, because you never know, there might be one person who hasn't heard something yet, and then they're going to get it from you. As far as like the ways, I think the most impactful thing, besides getting like somebody, there's been a few people who have sent in a dream and they're so stuck and so lost. And when I work with them on it and they figure out what the interpretation means to them, and whether they share it with me or not, I see their aha moment. And it's just like, you can see the relief of knowing that it like releases it for them. And I can't even describe it, but that's the only way I can say it. Just, it gives them relief. It releases them from whatever, chains were binding them because of this dream, because it makes you feel stuck. And the other thing is the dream experiments that I do, which can go into paranormal a little bit. I've seen that impact people, because it's just so, like I did one where people went back into previous dreams or tried to contact like people have passed away in their lives, and they've had interesting interactions. And again, it gave them like a peace. And it's just, it's like a cool way to try to work with people who've passed on.
I love it. Yeah. Wow. The paranormal stuff is interesting. I know I've seen your podcast with that, and if we don't run out of time, I might touch on that. But you said something about everybody dreams, and I've had clients and people say, "I don't remember my dreams," or "I don't think I dream." Can you speak to
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. Okay. So the first thing you want to ask them is, do they remember a nightmare that they've ever had? Because if they do, then they do remember, they do have dreams. So that already knows. So now we know that you do have dreams. Now, if you've never had a nightmare or never had a dream in your life, I don't know. I can't answer that. But most people will say that they do remember a nightmare. So then that proves they can remember their dreams. So it's just a matter of wanting to work on the dreams. Usually people that I find that say they don't dream, it's because they're either afraid of hearing information they don't want, or they
Yeah.
don't want to make the effort to try, because it's not something for everyone. Some people have to work at it. So it's another thing you have to do. You have to work at it. You kind of have to have a passion for it. I have a lot of methods. I actually have a workshop out right now that is on how to remember your dreams. And it's not even difficult. It's a few steps you can take, and it kind of changes your mindset so that you can start, trying to remember your dreams.
Okay, cool. I'm going to hold that thought. Maybe we'll finish with that. If you can give one of your top
Sure.
tips, we won't give them all away, but I want
Okay.
to go back to that, because there's also the story, and the teacher Carl Jung. He even has a book called Dreams Reflections, and I forget the third word. I've read it, and he's all about. If you don't know Carl Jung, Google. Jung is the last name spelling, but he was all about the unconscious mind, and how, 80 to 90% of our results externally are operating from our unconscious mind,
Yeah.
suppressed thoughts, feelings, emotions. And I learned from him, and then I'd love to hear your perspective on this, that a lot of our processing of our trauma, repressed emotions, things can happen in our dream state, which I would imagine that's also partially why people don't want to remember their dreams, and they even have nightmares. But what do you believe about that dream state? What's really happening for people?
Well, I believe that's absolutely true. I love him. I have not read the book, but I do like study, his work. And so the thing is about it is I myself tend to go for nightmares. I don't know if it's because I'm open to just receiving the information, or if my mind's just a little bit, traumatized through life. But, I have nightmares, but instead of like sitting there saying I might say this is a horrible nightmare, but I will still work through it. And I believe it's just reflecting. I don't think zombies are actually going to, come and get me. I think that zombies, for me, zombies is, that means I'm too stressed. Once the zombies come out, I'm actually right now starting to get towards like a lot of nightmares. And I know I'm like, if I don't start sitting down and really working on this, the zombies are coming. So I fully believe that when we're asleep, our mind is trying to work out everything that went on through the day, things that went on through our childhood, things that went on last week. Like, it's working on all that stuff. And it's telling it in these beautiful little stories. Usually they're beautiful little stories, but they're still like cool stories that shows how much imagination we really have. We take things that we saw throughout the day. I like have seen things pop up. Like, I'll see a TV show I watch, like the theme in that show and the conversations I've had and things, and it'll all pop up in my dream. And then somebody might say, well, I'm just dreaming about this because that show I watched. Well, I think it goes a little bit further than that. I think that those characters, your subconscious said, these are great symbols for what I want to talk about. And so it'll use that storyline from the show you watched, because it's content you've pulled in, and then it's still going to tell you a story. So you can't just stop at, I just had that dream because of the show I watched. There's still meaning behind it. Always. I believe there's always meaning behind every single dream and image we see.
I love that. Yeah. And you made me think of something. This is kind of esoteric, but because you and I are weird and we like esoteric and we like paranormal, a mentor, a psychic channel, and he's actually world renowned. He's been on my show like 6 times, Franco Romero. He had near death experiences, and he just like is an open channel and channeling all these messages about what's happening on the planet and all this, that, and the other. And he always told me at the beginning of our relationship, and I didn't get it then, but I get it now, but I want your perspective. He said that our dreams at night, that's actually our waking state. And this right here is a hologram that we are living in a dream. What can you say about that? What do you think?
I love that. I've actually been exploring a lot of like these kind of concepts recently, just within my own mind and stuff. I don't know. I don't know if I sometimes feel like when we're dreaming that other people that maybe we don't know but are here on earth with us now are also in the dream. Like you have dreams where there's people, you don't know them, but in the dream you know them. And I'm like, what if those are other people that are also asleep right now and dreaming, and you're mutual dreaming, but you'll never know because you don't know each other. So I kind of go with the mutual dream thing, that I think sometimes there could be crossovers while we're sleeping, and there's other, and maybe like you've ever been to a store and you see somebody and they look so familiar, and you're like, why do they look so familiar? Why do I feel like I know them? Could it be because they were in one of our dreams? Maybe we had a mutual dream. And
Yeah.
for people who don't even remember their dreams, you won't even remember that, but your subconscious remembers. And that's why they look familiar.
And that made me think, I'm sure deja vu is similar. Like, I feel like I've been here
Yeah.
before, or I've
Yeah.
seen that before. And
Yep.
do you feel like that's the universe or spirit's way of trying to get our attention?
Definitely. Yes.
Yeah, cool. I know that there is a question that has come in, and I was going to ask this question, so I'm going to follow suit. So again, if you're just tuning in live, please hit the like button so more people will see this. Subscribe to the channel so you can get notifications of future guests, and just super excited if you want to also share it and get more people to learn about what DeeDee does. We'd love that. So a lot of people will have reoccurring dreams or reoccurring themes. And you can speak to either one, but what do you think that tells us or is trying to tell us?
Well, okay. So reoccurring dreams, it's that your mind is trying to have you I feel like it's having your mind take notice. You're like, you're going to start remembering, I keep dreaming about this greenhouse or whatever it is. So it's your mind saying, it keeps pointing at it like a repeating thing. Usually because you're not. And I learned this from my friend Carly, is that she took a class and they said that you have the reoccurring with, as far as nightmares go, is because your mind just can't process the trauma. And that's probably where, if it's traumatic, you need like therapy. But if it's just like a repetitive dream symbol, what I have found is that I go to the same places. And I didn't realize that until I really dug deep into the dream interpretations, that I have like a museum that I always go to. There's like a desert place that I always go to. There's a beach that I always go to. And I never realized it because I was like almost in different spots. And then I started to, not quite lucid dreaming, but I'm lucid enough to understand that, oh, yeah, I've been here. This is the same mall. And one part of me was disappointed. I was like, oh, I'm not even like really going anywhere new. I'm like the same like city, but I actually know, like if I ever saw this city in real life, I would know it as I came in, because you come out like of a mountain range and you go down this like hill that turns and goes around, and the city's down there by the coast. So I'm just hoping that's like where I go in the afterlife. That's what I've decided it is. But I think that I have found that I am having repetitive places that I go to. And I don't know if that's for maybe comfort or, I'm not sure. But that's something that I've been studying lately. And I want to do a dream study with others to see if they notice that they're going to the same places. I'm thinking it's probably not just me.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. I mean, there's so much going on in the collective, and as above, so below, as within, so without. So you and I are talking about the as within, so without. So with these images that you talked about, and I'm also going to throw out there, like, recurring colors, or have you had a pattern with your clients over the past 3 years or yourself? Is there any specific image in a dream or a color in a dream that has like I know that there's probably not like an arbitrary, like you always see an elephant, this means this, but have you seen any specific images or colors or anything from dreams that you can share with us today that might help our audience?
I've had a lot. I think that the dreams that I get, why people mostly send me nightmares when it's a dream interpretation because they're trying to
Okay.
work out, what's going on. But so those are usually like being attacked or murdered is the most common theme. I
Wow.
notice when I have a lot of shorts with dream symbols, and being shot is probably the most commented on part, is being shot. So there's certain, like, those are the themes. It seems to be very negative. I know I very rarely get people to send in happy dreams. I usually only get those during dream studies because it's a different mindset. So we're going into doing something that's interesting and fun. So that could be why. But usually I'm just getting people's nightmares, and those are the top themes.
Well, that's interesting. Maybe I think I might have mentioned this to you before, but can I share with you one of my nightmares just to get your
Sure.
thoughts?
Yeah.
And this actually happened, it's almost been, now I got to think about it, almost exactly 3 years ago. And it was actually, I discovered that it was my ancestors communicating with me to heal some ancestral trauma. But
Yeah.
still, and it was really a terrible nightmare. I woke up really, really scared, shaking. I had to get out of my bed and like go and just go outside to breathe.
Yeah.
But in the dream, my father and brother, who were both already dead at the time, I was beating them up. They were really, really, really big. Like we're talking bigger than giants. Like they were huge, and I was my same size, maybe even my little girl self. That part I don't remember, but I was just so angry. I was like trying to beat them up. And obviously, when I woke up, I felt bad. I felt guilt. I felt shame, fear. And then my spiritual teacher told me that, that was my ancestors on my father's side trying to get my attention to heal some deeper stuff. But what are your
Yeah.
thoughts?
Well, I mean, my first question to you would be, what do they you said they crossed over. So what do they represent to you? If you were going to give me a couple of words to describe them, what would it be?
Absolutely. Patriarchal control, domination, power over women.
So it sounds like you were defending yourself. You were trying to kill off that aspect of, like, maybe, and you were saying you felt like guilt and shame and anger. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was you working through, and they were the symbols of what those things represent that you were
absolutely.
battling against, which totally makes sense.
Right. And ultimately, it helped me also work through, because I don't know about you, and this will be my next question, so I'm kind of teeing it up, but what I needed to do at that point also, because I kept having bad dreams, not nightmares like that one, but just like I would wake up after that with more fear, shame,
Yeah.
guilt. And I was just like, what the hell? It was like every day. And I know now it was the subconscious mind processing trauma, all of this deep, deep,
Yeah.
deep ancestral trauma, childhood trauma. So I forced myself to go and meditate, even though I didn't want to. I was scared, too scared not to. So I found meditation, mantras helped me, breath work sometimes. So have you worked with clients to help them maybe prevent more nightmares or figure out how to process it in their waking state?
Yeah. Well, the thing about the nightmares that I usually tell people is the first thing you should do, turn off all your devices, make everything calm, always have a clean area that you're sleeping in. So, like, declutter your bedroom. If you've got a bunch of stuff, throw it in the trunk of your car. I always say, just get it out of the room, make your room feel, when you walk in there, you feel peaceful. And then you want to journal. So first, the new thing that I've been telling people is do the mind dump, write out all the craps in your mind, all the things that are upsetting you, whatever it is. I also tell people to make an appointment with themselves for the next day. Say there's a bill you can't pay and you're stressed and you can't go to sleep, and that's all you can think about. You don't really want to go to sleep thinking about that, because it's not going to solve it for you unless you sit there and you write an intention, please help me figure out how I can pay this bill. Give me some ideas, right, of things I can do to help myself. If you just go to bed upset, I don't know how I'm going to pay it, my life's over, blah, 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 you're going to screw yourself into a lot of nightmares. So you want to make an appointment with yourself. Say, tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., we're going to think about how to solve this bill situation. And also, maybe you could set an intention before you go to sleep. I only want to dream about solutions or just taking a break and being on a peaceful beach. And that's what the last thought you have as you fall asleep. Your last thought is literally your last thought before you fall asleep. So it better be a good one. Like they say, don't go to bed mad. Don't get into a fight and then lay down and you're all mad, because it's not going to serve you, you know?
Well,
So
yeah, you reminded me of something that if I'm going to go ahead and share, but I'm doing that 40-day prosperity plan through the abundance book. I don't know if you've
yeah,
ever read that book, but
no,
that's what it tells you. It's a 40-day plan where before you go to bed, it's the last thing you read the affirmation statement, you meditate on it, and then you just write out what you
yeah,
got from that abundance statement, and then you go to sleep.
yeah,
And I will say, I've had some really interesting dreams. In fact, I'm just going to put
yeah.
myself out there. This is probably a little bit, TMI, but I've been having a lot of sexual dreams over the
Uh-huh.
past few months. And do you know what that could possibly mean?
Well, I would take, because it's just a symbol, sexual, right? So you're having sex, but that could be different things to different people. Some people, it could be power, it could be femininity, it could be need for closeness. It depends on what else is going on, who it's with, how you felt. All those
Right.
things matter, but it could have to do, like, if it was like pleasurable and happy and it made you feel abundant, then it's almost like a sign that it's telling you, we're here, we're growing this, kind of mindset. And so it's giving
Yeah.
you something pleasurable while you're sleeping instead of nightmares.
Awesome. I love that. Thank you. And yeah, because I call myself an abundance alchemist now, and I'm focusing more on how to use myself as a guinea pig, right?
Yeah.
To be able to do this challenge that I'm doing so I can lead others through it. And it has really been the past few months since I've been opening myself up to Tantra and all of these different things. It's so funny. So I say that also to just inspire, people to make that dream waking state connection. Have you ever dealt with anybody that came to you because they were sleepwalking?
I've had a couple of people say that they were sleepwalking. And the thing about that is I always refer them to talk to their doctor,
Okay.
because it can be very dangerous. There's been people who have gotten in their cars and people walk out on the street, so it's not something you want to fool around with. Maybe it only happens one time. It could be because of a lot of stress, could be even medications. I mean, there's so many things that can cause it. But I think that that's something you really want to talk to your doctor about, because it could be dangerous.
Right. Agreed. No, I appreciate that. I partially asked because I sleepwalked when I was a kid
Hmm.
um, a few times, and I've tried to do more research. Thankfully, as far as I know, I haven't done it as an adult, but I
Yeah,
thought
I think
that'd be
kids do it more,
yeah,
from what
yeah.
I've read. Yeah.
If you're just joining us, I want to just remind you, usually my shows go 30 to 40 minutes. So if you have any questions, I'm willing to field a question from the audience. But now I'd like to transition to what you talked about earlier, which I think is brilliant, is your workshop. And it sounded like, and let me repeat back what I thought I heard, you help people be open to their dreams. So it's almost like you're building the dream muscle. Do you want to share like your best tip from how to help people, especially if they don't dream at all and they want to?
Well, the first thing is, I'll give you my main tip. One of the things that I do with people is that I tell them, for people who say they remember nothing, I don't know. But if you have at least one nightmare that you can remember, any dream throughout your life, pick one. And we're going to sit down and I'm going to have them write out their dream. You go back, you read it again, add things you remember, you visualize your dream. So say you dreamt you were at the beach, you would close your eyes and you would breathe and you would go back to that beach setting and you would look around. What else do you see? How do you feel? And then you would write that down. And so what that does is, by rewriting a dream and by analyzing it, it actually gets you into the mindset of dreams. And your subconscious will then, a little light's going to go on, a little switch will get flipped, because your subconscious is going to be like, oh, we're going to do this. Okay. And then it's going to start to give you content. The other thing is, the minute you wake up, the second you wake up, you have to write it down, because if you're not training yourself to remember your dreams, you can like wake up and say, oh my God, that was an amazing dream. And then all of a sudden it's gone. And you're like, what happened? It's gone. I've done it to myself. Because as soon as you have a new thought, like I gotta go to the bathroom or whatever it is, you'll lose it, probably. I tend to not like, there's been times I've woken up now and I think I better write this down, but I still remember it. But that's not the norm. Usually you'll lose it as soon as you have a new thought, because kind of in a temporary memory, unless it's really traumatic or really amazing. People tend to remember sex dreams, nightmares, things that either are, fulfillment, fantasy fulfillment, or scary. Other than that, like the other content, which is all very valuable, they'll tend to just not remember because maybe it's not super amazing.
And thank you for that. That was amazing. That brought up two things for me. There's people, and myself included, I actually have a dream journal next to my bed now because I find that if I don't write it down before I get out of bed, it's like as soon as my feet hit the floor and I'm back in this 3D world,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, what was that dream again?
Yep.
And so why is that? Can you explain why we might remember them first thing when we're in that kind of, I guess you'd call it lucid beta state, whatever, and then they're gone within 30 minutes or less?
From what I've read and understand is that it's actually like a temporary. And so we get the downloads or the memories, and it'll either go into permanent memory or it'll either get, I think everything goes into our, so I don't think anything gets deleted. I think it goes into our subconscious and like filed away. So you got to think of it as like there's a librarian standing there. And if you don't start telling her, hey, I want to remember this dream, she just filed it. It's gone. And you can still pull them out sometimes. Like I've been able to do that. I'll sit down and have my coffee and I'm like, I didn't, I'll remember like one little thing and then I'll write it out. I'll write out the one little bit that I do remember of the dream. And I'll just kind of like, no TV, no phone, no nothing. Just sit there, drink your coffee, whatever your morning beverage is, and just kind of think about that one part of the dream you remember. Definitely write it down, and more might come back because you're tapping into that memory. You know where that file is. You just have to like open it.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Can you, since the podcast is called Healthy and Wealthy and Wise, and a lot of my clients are working on health, wealth, and relationships, can you or anybody, and if you tell your clients this, can you specifically set an intention before you go to bed and say, hey, like for example, let's say someone has the flu or someone has got some kind of health ailment. Can we tell our unconscious mind, say, hey, through my dream state tonight, can you help me, heal this or figure out why I got this? And then ask the dream state to help?
Yeah, I think you can. I think that you may get a dream. That's why it would be important. If you're going to set an intention, then definitely do an analysis and, make sure. I mean, you can even run them through Chat GPT and work with Chat GPT. I've done it myself when I will do an interpretation for myself. And it's hard when you're doing them for yourself, like for me, because I'm like, well, am I projecting? Or it's almost like better when it's cold for me and I have a discussion with somebody because I'm not in my own head. But usually I'll run it through Chat GPT to see if I'm like, way out there with it. But where was I? What was the question?
It was a complicated question. I apologize.
Oh yeah, it was about the health. Yeah. So I think that mostly what will happen is that I believe that we can heal ourselves somewhat, but you may get a dream that tells you that you need to go to the doctor, or that maybe the medication that you're taking isn't making you feel well, or whatever it is. Like sometimes you can get a little bit of information. And so then you can call your doctor and say, this antibiotic is making me sick, or I'm sick and I need help, or whatever it is. So I think that it's both. The mind will only tell you what it knows also. I'm not sure that you can pull that information from the collective, because I do believe that there is information that is in our collective unconsciousness, but I don't know, I'd hate to say to only do that. I'm one of these people that I believe I love home remedies and natural healing, but I also believe that there's times you need to go to the doctor because I know several people who did not, and they're not with us anymore. So there's times when there's a doctor and there's times when you can try self-healing. It just depends.
Cool. Beautiful. Yeah, I think it's great. It's kind of like, it's why I'm doing that abundance prosperity challenge for 40 days to, in some ways, I know I've had guests on my podcast who reprogram the subconscious mind, hypnotherapists,
Yeah.
there's NLP. And I think it's what you do is actually even more fun. And if you can learn how to influence your dreams on some level, and we
Oh,
probably can't prove exactly how much we influence them, but if you can influence your conscious mind through affirmations and unconscious rewiring or reprogramming, why not work
Oh,
in that manner?
oh, you definitely can. I mean, if somebody sits there and commits to doing dream work, I mean, you could start with 7 days, 30, then try 3 months, 6 months, a year. I look back at things that I've learned just from my dreams and interpreting them, understanding why I feel the way I feel about things. A lot of things will nod back to things that happen in childhood, even if it's not like a lot of things don't always have to be traumatic, but it's just ways that people interacted with you can create your mindset. And we don't know how we are. We don't see how we are, but our dreams know. They'll show us how we actually are.
I love it. I love that journaling tip. I hope you guys wrote that down. If not, rewind, watch this again, 7 days, 30 days or more, and just see if there's reoccurring themes,
Oh, yeah.
your guides. Like I'll even ask Archangel Michael sometimes before I go to bed, please give me clarity on XYZ. I'll
Right.
ask,
Yeah.
if I'm scratching my head, pulling my hair out about a situation in daily life that keeps happening or self-sabotaging limiting beliefs and behaviors.
Yeah.
I'm going to share something. It's personal, but you have interviewed my former partner on your podcast, and he's a ghost whisperer. So, and we've talked about our story. My brother who had died visited him in the middle of the night. No one knew my brother had died, and then it helped awaken his gifts. And he had thousands and thousands of people who died from COVID came to visit him every night between 2 to 4. So that's like that we call that the state of the zombies or the dead or the spirits, the
Yeah.
ghosts are usually in that time frame. And I've heard other people have similar stories to my partner. And I'm just curious if you've ever had anybody come to you that was like, I'm getting up every night between 2 to 4. I can't sleep because of XYZ. And if that is maybe it's somewhat connected to the paranormal, I guess, and maybe somewhat connected to dreams, or what do you think?
Well, I mean, if you're coming out of your sleep, I'm open to it being a paranormal possibility, but I tend to think that it's more anything can wake you up. If you've been asleep, if you go to bed, say at 10 o'clock at night, then waking up after about 6 hours is pretty normal. That happens to a lot of people, especially the older you get, because you have to go to the bathroom and your mind starts being like, okay, we should get up. Um, but I think that it's a very common theme that many people come to me. It's usually between 2 and 4, and it usually is like a nightmare that wakes them up. But you got to look at, the all I can say is whether it's actually paranormal visitation or if it's a nightmare, still journal it. Journal out what the lesson is in that. If you think it is a spirit coming to you, what did the spirit say? What happened? Who were they? And analyze it as if it was a dream and see if you get information that way. What is this telling you? Is it an ancestor visiting you and they're trying to give you information, but you think it's a shadow figure or something? Because not everybody seems to have clarity where they see faces and stuff. They might just see a shadow or the back of somebody. And so I would just say that if you have that happen, just analyze it. What was said and how did you feel?
Yeah. Well, and I also want to share too, and I think this is powerful because now I've heard other clients say it. So it's in the collective right now. So this is why I'm bringing it up. But until I married my partner, I never had panic attacks like in the middle of the night. But once we were married, I was pregnant, on again, off again. The whole time we were married, I'd have panic attacks, waking up in the middle of the night. Again, kind of actually between that 2 to 4 time
Yeah.
frame. And I discovered it was because of his gift. And so when we stopped sleeping together, like all of that stuff disappeared. So
Huh.
if you are partnered and if that other person has gifts or just really powerful energy, and maybe you're an empath like me, and you may need to consider sleeping apart, which I know sometimes
Yeah.
really sucks, but I do know couples that do it their whole marriage. So it's a thing. So I don't know if you have anything else to say to that.
Yeah. I mean, whether it's that they're having these experiences or dreams and they're pushing out, because we have energy, right? So they're pushing out all this energy, and that's what's disturbing because you're asleep, you're in a very peaceful, euphoric. And if somebody next to you is having a very intense energy coming out of them, whether it's an experience they're having or it's a dream, it would affect you. It would wake you up. So yeah. I mean, if somebody sleep is so important that you have to sleep in the bed that's comfortable. You have to have the air conditioning set to the right temperature. I mean, everything. There's so many details to
Yeah.
having good sleep. People don't even realize. It's called sleep. If you Google sleep hygiene,
Yeah.
it'll give you a list of all the things that you should be doing if you struggle at all with sleep, you know.
Thank you for that. Yeah. And if anybody does, I have so many different meditations and things on my
Yeah,
YouTube channel.
meditation. Yeah.
So, but there's lots of different ways to figure that out. And maybe if it's recurring dreams, you need to call DeeDee and get in touch with
Yeah.
her. And what we'll do now, I'm going to have a word from our sponsor, and then I'm going to come back and make announcements and ask you my final couple of questions for the day, and also so people can know how to find you. And I think it's kind of cool with my sponsor. It talks about microdosing. So I'll play the sponsored ad, and then we can come back, and I have a question on how that might impact your dream state. So don't go away.
Okay.
We're going to be right back after this short ad.
Healthy and Wealthy and Wise is proudly sponsored by the Soul Vine, your number one go-to source for ayahuasca microdosing. This ayahuasca is legal. It is the Cappy vine. There is no DMT extract or molecule as a part of it, and it can and will transform your life from the inside out. Supporting the Shipibo tribe from South America, this is my go-to source for healing. Learn more at microdosingforhealth.com.
So that's a great segue to my last question for you is people who have microdosed with ayahuasca specifically, but also psilocybin, they get more messages in their dream state as a result. Do you have any, I mean, I know why for myself, but do you have any thoughts on the explanation for that?
Well, I think there's two ways that I always call that, and some people won't like that I say this, but I always call that like the easy way. And then there's the doing the dream work way. Same results. It just depends on how you want to access the information that's there. I
Yeah.
did a dream tea once that had the ashwagandha, and oh my God, it was an incredible dream. Amazing. So much information. But I've gotten just as good dreams otherwise when I'm really diving deep and setting dream intentions and stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just another way to access. If you're somebody who struggles, see, the trouble with that is that if you only do that, you may never learn the ability to just access your dreams yourself, because anyone can do it. It's just a
Yeah.
matter of, like you said, exercising that muscle. So, but
Yeah.
yeah,
And
it
I always
does
tell
work.
people absolutely. And I always tell people too, it's got to be for a certain intention. And
Right.
absolutely, I don't even microdose anymore. And a lot of people think like it's supplements or nutrition, pharmaceuticals. You just keep doing it forever. And I'm here to tell you, to remind you, don't do that. That's not at all what the medicine wants for you. Because to your point, these different tools are out there to help us make more of the unconscious conscious.
Right.
And there's simple, easy, free daily habits that you can
Exactly.
build that can help you too. So,
Yeah.
well, thank you so much. I always want to make sure people know where to find you, and if you have a free gift for our audience, could you share?
Yeah. So my website is thedreamsinterpreter.com. So it's dreams, DREAMS. And then the Instagram is the same. I think my Facebook is the same. I don't use Facebook as much anymore. But basically, if you go to my website, you'll find everything through my website. You'll find my podcast, Positively Dreaming. The workshops are all listed there. I have a blog, so I blog out information. It's all free access. And then I have a lot of videos. I have also meditations that are geared towards just dreaming on my YouTube channel. And then, yeah, I don't know if I'll give away a dream interpretation to one of your viewers.
Yeah, I was
And
going to say the first person, let me see if I have my email address. I'll put the email address in the show notes. The first person at the time of this recording that emails me, support@microdosingforhealth.com, which is on the screen right now, I will get you connected to DeeDee for that amazing gift.
yeah.
So if you are the second person, I'll respond and say, I'm so sorry, but here's her website. Well, thank you so much. I just want to make a couple announcements as we sign off here. It's the time of this recording. I have a lot of events coming up. It's May 28th today, May 31st. I have a workshop here in Fallbrook for conscious entrepreneurs who want to double their income without selling their soul. And it's a phenomenal opportunity to network, to be able to have dinner, break bread, and connect with in-person community, getting out of the Zoom room and getting into actual rooms. I'm super excited. And plus in June, I've got a 6-month planning workshop if you want to plan the second half of the year on paper. These are all exciting. Plus, I have a women's online circle. Just a lot of great, exciting things coming up here at the Lotus Throne Healing and Coaching Sanctuary. So again, if you saw value in the show, hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the share. Sharing is caring. And I definitely look forward to hopefully having you back here again sometime. DeeDee, thank you so much for your
thank you.
contribution today. All right, everyone, until next time, as I always like to say as I sign off, here's to your best health, your best wealth. And now with this beautiful wisdom that she shared with us today, hopefully you can be able to find more deep wisdom through your dream state, not just your waking state. So we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Please subscribe, download, leave a 5-star rating or review, and also please refer this to a friend you know who may benefit from this inspirational message. We hope to see you again. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel or join my Facebook community. And if you are looking to manifest your best health, your best wealth by trusting your best wisdom within, please go to my website, www.microdosingforhealth.com. Again, www.microdosingforhealth.com. to quiet your mind, get into your heart, heal your body, and manifest your best health and your best wealth.